The magic number is down to 1 after the Leafs take care of business on the final weekend of the regular season. Let's break it all down on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. What's happening, Dave? How was your Sunday?
Emotional, man. You know, watching Rory McIlroy go out and win the Masters just as the Leafs take care of business against the Hurricanes. Criminal to put a hockey game on during that time, by the way.
Oh, isn't it? Like, why would the NHL, or any sport for that matter, schedule anything on Masters Sunday afternoon? 7 o'clock start, 8 o'clock start. All right, I could see the Masters is over, the tournament's done. But a 5 o'clock puck drop for a hockey game on Masters Sunday? Like, I'm sitting there trying to watch the playoff hole. And meanwhile, I'm keeping an eye on the other screen on the third period of what's going on with the Leafs game here. And I'm just like, this is criminal. That's the perfect word to use. It absolutely was. But you're right, man. And it's one of those, like, maybe is that like another omen that Leaf fans can look at where it's like, hey, this year's different. 2025 is a different year. 2025's the year Rory broke through. Rory, finally, after years and years of trying to win the Masters, trying to complete the Grand Slam, time and time again, did not get it done. Choked away on that. Almost choked away again today, by the way. That final round, there's got to be a 30 for 30 on this one. And somebody put it best. The way they described today's round from Rory, said it was the most schizophrenic round of golf I've ever seen. I thought that was the perfect way to describe it because it was honestly such a roller coaster. But it ended in triumph. Rory McIlroy wins the Masters, so congratulations to Rory for finally doing it, completing the Grand Slam. But, I mean, Leaf fans, you could look at that and say, hey, people are doing things this year that haven't been done before or haven't been done in a long time. That guy, 11 years since he had won his last major. Could this be the year that the Maple Leafs do some damage and kind of follow in those same footsteps? What I saw this weekend against Montreal and against Carolina, and go back to the win against Tampa, I mean, I feel more confident today than I certainly did in the years past of them doing that.
Well, only that, I can now see that Florida game being more of a blip than after the way they responded the last 3 games, especially on Saturday when you have 5 defensemen and you're like, we'll just put in probably the biggest defensive gem we have seen this team play. Oh, that was the problem. They had too many defensemen.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, they should play 11-5 moving forward. It turns out that that's a winning formula. But yeah, like they locked it down. Like Montreal had nothing. They missed the net a lot. Like granted, you look at the amount of missed shots they had. So what they end up with 15 shots in the game, I think, something like that. 15 shots they had against Montreal mustered up on Saturday night, and then Carolina 26 shots in the Sunday game. So, you know, they did excellent, you know, averaged just 20 and a half shots on goal through the 2 games this weekend. And really, that's my big takeaway from the weekend was that they're playing playoff hockey. They buckled down. They're playing defensively. They're getting in shooting lanes. They're blocking shots. They're muscling guys away from the net. They're not allowing second, third opportunities. They're hunting down pucks on the forecheck, on the back check. It's all coming up rosy right now. The Maple Leafs are in fine form heading into the postseason, and it's got to make it feel good, Dave.
Especially against the Carolina team that, okay, granted, they have the majority of the chances, especially early on. But this is a team that's always had the Leafs number. this is a team that, especially in Carolina, have always, kept the Leafs off the score sheet, or have outshot them so pretty badly, which they did again to start the game. But on a second half of a back-to-back, and you played with 5D the night before, these guys are now playing. Yes, they got a sixth guy in there, but it's not exactly like they brought in their best option that they could bring in on the blue line. But hey, it's almost like we've seen them do this before in a lot of ways this year, where you're kind of counting against them a little bit and they find a way to win. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of peaks and valleys to the season, as there are with most years, but I don't think we've seen the team play this well defensively. And I think that's what makes you feel good about it going forward. And they also have the bodies, the players, the size to play that style the way that they want to play, right? Like, they never had that Matthew Nyes power forward who's a pain in the ass in front of the net and down low, or Matthew Nyes who could do, or Bobby McMahon who could be that guy in the middle six. They never had a Brandon Carlo and a Chris Tanev, those big dudes, right? Like, they haven't had those types of players in years past, and now they have those players, and it seems to all be kind of coming through at the right time. They're peaking at the right time, I guess you'll say. There's still 2 games to go. It's not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Job not finish, as Kobe Bryant would say. They do have a 97.9% chance to win the division. Both Toronto and Tampa won today, so the magic number now down to 1. So Toronto needs just 1 more point in their next 2 games, or they need Tampa to lose a point in their next 2 games, and the Maple Leafs will be the Atlantic Division champions. The first time that they'll win a division in a full season, taking away the COVID year aside, since 1999-2000, and it'll be just the second time since 1963 in the expansion era. So it's not something that happens a lot, Dave. And now that the Senators are locked into the 4th position, I think that makes it even more important to avoid Florida. Hunker down, win these next 2 games, or at least try and get 1 point in these next 2 games, and then you get set for a Battle of Ontario in round 1.
Yeah, first I want to thank the Sabres for not helping the Leafs tonight in clinching that Atlantic spot, because they were winning. Buffalo was winning, and it's almost like, well, if they hold Tampa here, there you go. Atlantic Division is not locked up. The next 2 games, you can kind of.
Was Jimmy Reimer in net? I think Jimmy Reimer was in net too.
Rhyme time. Mistaken. No rhyme time tonight. But
okay.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, it's gonna feel weird, like, having a team that's in that position to.
He would. Reimer was in net. He gave us all 7. Yeah, he gave up all 7.
Absolutely beautiful. They were up 2. Up 2-1, and just it was just like falling apart, and just like, oh, that's what you get for even having any little bit of. I didn't have faith in the Sabres to win the game, but I'm just like, at least be competitive for the rest of the games, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna feel. I don't know. For me, it's gonna be weird seeing the Leafs in this position, because yes, technically they had this position back in the COVID year, but that was different. Like, this means a lot more in this type of season for the Leafs to have a division title. I'm not saying just because they go on and win the division, but it just kind of symbolizes the focus that this team has had, right? Because they've been up and down at a lot of times during the season, right? It wasn't a certainty that they were going to win this division, but now it's like, okay, you check that off, but there's a lot more that needs to be checked off. And it doesn't get any easier either.
No, obviously it's now you get in, you get into the dance, but now you've got the playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs to go through, and you're gonna need 16 more wins in order to, accomplish the goal that the Leafs sought out for themselves at the beginning of the season to win a championship. And it's nicer, I suppose, to have to start off against Ottawa as opposed to Florida or Tampa, or I guess Boston would have been a decent opponent this year to have to play, but they're last place in the East, so they're out of the equation, suckers. But yeah, job's not finished, absolutely. And I think step one, win the division, which still not done either, right? Like, still got to make sure that they go through, pick up at least a point, or Tampa drops one, and then you can move forward and start looking ahead to the postseason, getting ready and gearing up for that. All right. On the other side, Dave, before we completely turn the page on this weekend, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the wins against Carolina and Montreal, go through our 3 stars of the weekend, and then look forward. You got 2 more games to go. Buffalo, Detroit. How does Toronto navigate those final 2 games with needing to win, but also with rest on their mind? So we'll have that debate coming up later on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to that next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. And instead of hiring full-time, Upwork can help you find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWRORK, Upwork.com. That's Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, free and available on the Locked On Leafs podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast from, and also on YouTube with the playoffs coming up. We asked if you enjoy listening to the podcast, you're looking for that daily dose of Maple Leafs coverage, make sure that you are subscribed to the show, either audio-wise for your on-the-go listeners or video-wise. You can check us out on YouTube as well. 2 more games to go. Toronto, they got Buffalo and Detroit still on the sked, but 2 big wins and 4 big points for the Maple Leafs this weekend, taking care of business against the Montreal Canadiens and then beating the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1. I would say 2 pretty solid efforts for the Maple Leafs. I think the first period against Carolina aside, Toronto was in full control for most of the weekend. I thought that they played excellent defensively, exactly what you want to see. Let's go through the 3 stars of the weekend here, Dave. Who's your number 1 star?
I got to go with Joseph Woll.
Do we want to just give it to the goalies?
We can do goalies, but Stolarz was good, but he did not have the workload that Joseph Woll had.
The guy, it's a shutout. I mean, you post a shutout, you should get some recognition here.
He should, but he only faced 15 shots. I'll give Anthony Stolarz credit for this, because that looked like it was going to be a disastrous end to that game with that Nick Suzu. I'll give it for overtime. That save.
Here's the thing. If he wasn't perfect, they don't win that game. Yeah. That's the problem, because Dolbish was freaking awesome on the other side. So it was quite the goalie duel that we had there, and Stolarz was 1 save better. Got to give him credit for that. And,
I thought, like, if Joseph Woll doesn't do what he does,
yes,
we're coming on here talking about the Leafs getting absolutely thrashed by the Hurricanes.
Probably, yeah.
Like, the expected goals was like above 4 for the Hurricanes tonight.
I can tell you in 2 seconds what it was. I know it was like 2.5 at 5-on-5. You include the power play there. Yeah, 4.5, 4.55 expected goals. So 3.5 goals saved above expectation for good old Joe Woll tonight.
Yeah, it's both goalies. I don't think anybody should have any concern whoever goes in that. I mean, we know it's going to be Stolar starting, but if doesn't have a good start, you're confident in the guy you're putting in behind him. That's something that hasn't like we've had good enough goaltending, but this year especially, like I've got no qualms about the way this goaltending has been.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, you've got to be happy with what these guys have done. And I think with that win, the Maple Leafs, for the first time in franchise history, I want to say, have two 20-win goaltenders on the roster. So, that's just goes to show that it's been a true tandem all season long. And I would imagine we'll continue to see that throughout the rest of the postseason as well, despite whoever ends up getting the nod for Game 1. Your second star, Dave.
Second star, I'll give it to the blue line. That was not an easy feat for them to have to play with 5 D-men. I thought Morgan Rielly he had a really good weekend.
Yes.
In my opinion, I thought it's
rounding into form at the right time here, Dave.
Yeah, like you saw when Morgan Rielly is gaining some of that confidence back when you see the offensive plays that he's making.
Yeah.
Like that pass on the Matthews, like the
little touch,
right? Back. Like, but just knowing, right? Like he could have easily gone for the shot, but knowing that no, you're passing it, Austin. You're not taking that shot, right? How many different defensive partners he had to play with. So I really liked what the blue line did. They all took that challenge to heart, and yeah, I mean they don't if that. It's almost like situations like that really test the mental fortitude of your group, and the fact they didn't. Montreal was not. I know Montreal was coming on the second half of a back-to-back, so they weren't, playing at probably 100%. But that's a team that had to win that game, right? That was an important game for them if they want to lock up their playoff spot, and the Leafs knew they could make it a little bit tougher on them.
Yeah, they denied it, and with Columbus actually winning, there's still a sliver of hope that the Blue Jackets could end up, making it through. I expect Montreal to pull it out and end up with that final wild card spot, but they haven't clinched just yet, and that's because Toronto denied them that extra point that Montreal needed to completely get themselves a clinch there. I thought Morgan Rielly was great. Just as a special shout out to him. Dakota Mermis, I thought, stepped up, played really well tonight. Actually, I think in terms of expected goals, Mermis was number 1 for the Maple Leafs today at 5-on-5. Now, he had some favorable matchups. Obviously, they didn't throw him out there, against the Sebastian Ahos of the world, but still, for a guy who has been in the American League the entire season to come up and play on the second night of a back-to-back, he was relied upon because the other guys had all played 20-plus minutes the night before. He had to come in and play some decent minutes. I think he ended up playing over 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. 15-11, ended up with a couple of hits, couple block shots. I thought he was great. He filled in quite admirably for Toronto against a pretty good team. And, again, Morgan Rielly, talk about him, couple block shots tonight. And as a team, I thought they did an excellent job blocking shots. They had 20 block shots against the Hurricanes tonight, and the blue line was a big part of it.
Crazy the journey for Dakota Mermis. Like, let's not forget, was with the Leafs, breaks his jaw. Then he gets put on waivers, claimed by Utah. Thought, okay, that's the end of Dakota Mermis in Toronto. Gets waived by Utah. Leafs reclaim him. He spends a bunch of games down with the Marlies, and now he's with the Leafs.
Yeah. I forgot the middle part, to be honest with you. Completely forgot that he had gotten claimed by the Yotes, then reclaimed by Toronto. That whole part was a blur to me. I remember him getting hurt, obviously, playing with the Marlies, and got his first game action tonight with the Maple Leafs with the big club. And again, come playoffs, come postseason, you're going to need your depth defensemen to play at some point, because on average, teams that go to a championship usually end up playing 8 or 9 defensemen en route to a title. And if the Maple Leafs get down to their 8th, 9th guy, that's Dakota Mermis. He's going to be one of those guys once you get down there. So especially if Yanni Hakanpää isn't ready to go at any point. So for him to get some NHL action. And obviously now you do have Coach Craig Berube, who knows what to expect out of Dakota Mermis. I really, really just want to give a quick honorable mention and shout out. Or actually, we didn't get to our third star yet. Who's the third star, Dave?
I'll go with the top line or the like. This was all about Matthews, Willie today, JT, Marner. Those guys all stepped up.
Yeah,
and Marner with the game winner in overtime, but like all of them scored big important goals this weekend. Like they, we've criticized them for when they don't step up. Should also give them their dues when they do step up.
100%. And for Marner to get the overtime winner, Matthews scores today along with Willie, and Tavares gets a nice one, and it's good to see. I will say this, it looks like Matthews is getting healthy again. Like, I don't know if he went through a bit of a stretch there, but just 1 goal in his last 6 games heading into tonight. Hasn't been shooting the puck a whole lot, but today ends up firing the puck into the back of the net. Nice little 2-on-1, little give and go action with Morgan Rielly, and just placed that shot perfectly to get it past Freddie Anderson, his old friend. Now it's 4 goals in 5 games against Freddie Anderson. Funny enough, his old Leaf teammate and buddy there. But, I just saw him battling all weekend long, battling for pucks, keeping possessions alive. I saw him skating much more fluidly, skating in and out of the zone, in and out of, when he's weaving in and out of traffic is when I find he's most dangerous in the offensive end. And he was doing that, trying to get himself open and find some space, create some space for himself. And I found he was doing that a little bit today and yesterday as well. So that's really good to see heading into the postseason. I want to give a special shout out, though. I wasn't going to give him a star because I don't know if it quite belongs as one of the stars. But I thought Pontus Holmberg actually stood out to me in this game against Carolina, and I think he stood out too to the coach because he ends up getting put up the lineup a little bit. Calle Jarnkrok drops down, Pontus moves up, and he starts moving and shaking and making things work and making some things happen. I thought Pontus had himself a pretty good weekend and played well, certainly in this game against Carolina. So he's making a case to possibly stick in the lineup once we got a full, healthy crew come game 1 of the postseason. But tonight's game, you can look back and think, okay, this is why he can make an impact. He can move up and down the lineup. He can compete, and he can kill penalties, and even, muster up a little bit of offense here and there.
I enjoyed it more so because he's not in the top 6. I think he's a more valuable contributor to this team in a bottom 6 role. And that's not saying I don't think he deserves to be in the top 6. I just think you've got better options for that second line. Like today, Max Domi, second line needed a bit of an offensive boost. Throw in Max Domi. Maybe the second line needs a little bit more tenacity and grit and size. You throw Bobby McMahon there. I just think that, that and the big thing here is I think Pontus Holmberg, the fact that he can play center, you can throw him at center on the third line. And, he just has to do the simple things, right? Go to the net, get a rebound. Like that was crucial for him. So I really liked what I saw from Holmberg in this game. And I was probably surprised at you when I saw that he did get the goal on the rebound there. Like it was him. I was like, but sometimes good things happen to players who play like that.
And I mean, look, the Leafs did not deserve to be leading after 20 minutes of play, but hey, go to the net. Good things happen. You get some offense going off the rush, and that kind of tipped the scales in that game because then Toronto came out and put on a clinic in the second period and then just kind of locked it down there as much as they could in the third. But that third line, Nick Robertson, Pontus Holmberg, Bobby McMahon, 7 minutes, 58 seconds of ice time at 5-on-5. They outshot their opposition 7-2 and had a 66% expected goals and outchanced the opposition 8-3, 5-2 high danger chances. And considering that Toronto lost the possession battle quite heavily tonight, that's unbelievable that they were able to go out there and dominate the minutes that they did. So again, just a peek at that combination, and maybe you go to it again down the road if you're looking for a little bit of offense from a third line.
Yeah, right. And not doing more than you need to do.
Yeah.
Play simple. Go to the net. Get those pucks tonight. Get the rebounds.
And realistically, what it also allows you is you kind of like the look of that fourth line tonight, like where you had Scott Lawton, Calle Yarncroc, and Steven Lorentz. Like all three of those guys, you kind of know what they're going to bring you, right? And you know what you're going to get out of them, and they're going to play hard, going to play fast, going to play physical, and they're going to try and play some lockdown defense. And I kind of like the thought of having a fourth line that could do that. Bit of an identity. You know what you're going to get out of them. So, I mean, one hate to see something like that kind of pop up a little bit more often in the playoffs. I guess it'll depend on what's going on with David Kampf, but if he is out, I kind of like that combination of Holmberg at 3C with those two guys, and then Lawton, Lorentz, and Yarncroc as kind of your shutdown fourth line. I like the thought process of that heading into a postseason.
Yeah. And screw the Post for taking away a chance for a Scott Lawton goal.
Oh, what a rocket, though. What a rocket.
Let the guy have one. That was a piss missile.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would have been nice, though. Just walks in on Broadway, opens up, clapper. Oh, right off the post. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. It's going to come, man. It's going to come. That's a couple of games here, though, in a row where I've liked what I've seen from Lawton. He's being given, obviously, a little bit more of an easier assignment on the fourth line right now, but let's get this guy's confidence going the right direction, and then you can try and give him a little bit more of a leash moving forward. All right, Dave, let's take another break. We'll come back, and let's talk about what to expect this week. 2 more games to go for the Leafs, then a 1 point out of them to clinch the Atlantic Division. We'll talk about how they go about that next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I'm a big fan of the no-shell variety. It's good to have if you want to grab and go snack. It's good if you're at a desk and you want to have a little snack and you don't want the mess. And you can even take it out on a road trip. And if you also want the classic shell options and enjoy that satisfying crunch, they are always a classic favorite. So make sure you get snackin' and crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. I'm Mike DiStefano. Got Dave Morassutti with me. The Maple Leafs with a perfect weekend. They go 2 for 2, picking up all 4 points they needed, and now need just 1 more point. That's the magic number. 1 point for the Buds locks them into the top of the Atlantic Division, or 1 lost point for the Tampa Bay Lightning this week. So both teams with 2 games to go, Dave. Toronto, they're in Buffalo on Tuesday, and then home for their season finale against Detroit on Thursday. As for Tampa, they're taking on Florida at Amalie Arena in Tampa. So a home game against Florida, and then they're at New York taking on the Rangers, who are now eliminated from playoff contention. So won't be playing for anything other than pride. And if you heard what Calvin DeHaan had to say after his game today, there might not be a whole lot of pride in that locker room moving forward. That may be a conversation that John Chick will have to go through on the Locked On Rangers podcast, but I digress. But those are 2 winnable games for Tampa. So Toronto, they cannot screw this up. They cannot screw this up. They have to make sure they get at least 1 point here against Buffalo or Detroit. They should be able to do this. They are the better team of the two. Neither Buffalo or Detroit are playing for anything other than pride, of course, and contracts and whatever. But there's no playoff implications on the line for them. But they'd love to take points and play spoiler. My question to you is, Dave, how do the Maple Leafs navigate needing to win these games, but also possibly looking ahead and thinking we should try and get our veterans at least one, if not maybe a couple games here of rest? Like, how do they navigate the waters this week, you think?
Well, I mean, the big one here on the blue line, you got to see if you can get one of McCabe or OEL back, because I don't think anyone on the blue line is getting any rest. If anything, they got to maybe keep doing what they're doing right now. For the forwards, that's also the other problem, because you got David Kampf, who didn't take the trip. Don't know if he's even close to coming back. So, like, you might not get much rest. What you can do is maybe you can lower their minutes. But
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why can't you place anyone on it? Like David Kampf, if he's not going to play these last two games, why don't you just place him on LTIR and open up that cap space? I don't really understand why they're not willing to do that.
I don't know if there's an issue with activating him for the playoffs. I don't know.
You're right. I should look into that. But I'm not I feel as though it doesn't carry over. Like the 24 days or 10 games rule, I'm not sure it carries over from regular season into playoffs. I could be wrong. And if that is the case, I suppose that would be the reason why you don't do that. But if it doesn't carry over, I mean, that seems like a pretty easy way to make a couple call-ups, get some guys up here. And
I am currently just looking it up. It looks like someone so it was brought up last year during the whole LTIR, the idea of teams just stashing guys. So since there's no salary cap in the playoffs, teams can activate a player off LTIR without cap constraints after the regular season, as long as the player has met the requirements of LTIR.
There's the answer then. Well, when's the last time David Kampf played? Probably not enough. Not nearly enough.
I don't think it's 24 days, because he got hurt when it was the.
Well, that's to be both. That's to be 10 games and 24 days. So it wouldn't be.
I don't think it's been 24 days. So
all right, forget everything I just said. Actually, thanks for looking into that.
The only thing you can do is you play the fourth line guys more, the third line guys more.
Yeah.
Marner, he's right there for 100 points, right? Matthews. He's right there, almost at 400 career goals, right? That's a milestone.
What did he finish with tonight? What did he finish with here? Did he end up getting 2 or just, how many points he got?
I think he needs one more point to get to 100 on the year.
2 more points.
I don't think it include whatever you're looking at, because I'm looking at NHL.com. He has 99.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this hasn't been updated then on.
See, this is a perfect example. So Mitch Marner against Montreal played 26 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Too much for Mitch Marner.
Too many minutes.
So how much did he play against Carolina? 1840.
Perfect.
That's exactly what you need to do. You play him, but don't overplay him. Like, I know that a lot of people, I know some people saw that Oliver Bjorkstrand's week to week right now with the Lightning.
Yeah.
And they get worried, like, oh, this is why you don't play guys the last few games. Well, yeah, if you have the ability to do that. Not everyone has the ability. Like, if you're going to put guys on LTIR, you would have had to have done that long ago. And unfortunately, the Leafs don't have. I know some people are like, it's the Stars' fault because they took too much money. It's like, well, no, it's because the guys got hurt at the wrong time of the year.
Yeah.
And you're stuck with, when you lose 2 defensemen and you can't put them on LTIR, not many teams have the ability to just call up a bunch of guys. There's very few teams that are able to do that. It's not just a Leafs thing.
Right. Yeah, so it is interesting. Like, if there was one player though that I truly would get him out of the lineup and kind of say, hey, you've had a great season. We'll see you in the playoffs. I think it'd still be John Tavares. I still want to get JT some rest. Let him rest up those legs, recharge those legs, and get him ready to go for the postseason. Because that's a guy that when you when you look back on his last couple of seasons, when he gets rest and time off, he usually comes back very recharged and goes on a tear. Like, he's been one of the best goal scorers in the NHL since the Four Nations break, and this is, he always starts off very well, or out of an all-star break, or out of off an injury potentially. Like, he just seems to, when he gets some time to recalibrate, he's able to come back and get the wheels going. I feel like if not both games, certainly sit him at least one of these two games here and get him at least a little bit of rest. I don't want the wheels to fall off here, because he's been going since the Four Nations face-off, and he's been great. But at what point do we see that decline and see that wear and tear on the body, start to pile up? I feel like maybe a week in between would benefit him greatly.
It would, and unfortunately, if they're not able to do that, you're gonna have to just find a way to
11-6. Go ahead, 11-6. Play a man short for Buffalo, and then bring, like, do the exact same thing you did.
It would be nice if they could do like an 11-7, where you play an extra defenseman. That way, you're not going totally shorthand. You just let a forward sit. But I don't know if they're even going to be able to. Oh, they probably could do that if they get both McCabe and Larson back. And you but at this point, McCabe and Larson,
I want them out too. I don't want them playing.
Yeah, I'm like, enjoy. I don't
need it. Let's just go 11-6. I don't care. 11-6 for Buffalo, right? Keep Tavares out. Tavares is injured, we'll say, and then get an emergency call up.
I swear to God, if I wake up and John Tavares is missing because he's got something nagging, blaming you.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you know what though, there is that other argument too, where it's like, don't mess with a good thing, and he's rolling right now. Why mess with him? There is that side of the argument as well, which I do appreciate. But I don't know. I've seen too many times when this guy has a little bit of time off to recharge, he typically, comes back playing at a really high level. So it's more of a proactive thing for me. Before it falls off, let's get ahead of it and give him a week to recalibrate. But what do I know? I'm just a silly man sitting on a desk talking to a mic here, pal. I'm not Craig Berube, John Tavares, or the Leafs brass in that $1 billion industry. So who cares what I have to say? All right. But yeah, so that's it. Toronto in Buffalo, and then at home against Detroit and Tampa, taking on Florida at home, and then they are in New York to play the Rangers. Toronto picks up 1 point, division champs. Tampa loses a point. Toronto, again, division champs. So it's a 98% chance for them to win the division at this point, per moneypuck.com. Regardless of who's in the lineup, let's hope they can pull it out, buddy, because that would that go a long way, and that would also go towards the, hey, this year might be different mantra that we keep trying to convince ourselves of. A division title would be different. That is for certainty. Anything else you want to get into here, Dave, before we sign off? Any final words?
No, just good luck, New York Rangers, with the rest of the season, because it's just all blowing up. It's all blowing up.
As they honestly deserve, when they just were so terrible to their captain. And I said, right from the whole Trouba situation went down, I'm like, man, they're going to get some serious karma at some point, and the hockey gods are getting them back for the way they treated Trouba in that whole situation. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at @D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.